Hello, everybody. This is Paul Cummings, CEO and founder of Whole Cyber Human Initiative. Today, I am with Forrest Connely, one of our first two to successfully complete our pipeline. Forrest, give us a little bit of background on yourself.
Yeah, my name is Forrest Connely. I'm actually a brand new cyber through with military, but that's kind of a part-time thing. On the civilian side, I'm an IT technician for just my local city, and some background about me. I played a lot of computer games growing up. Never really had interest in technology outside of just playing computer games and playing video games in general. Up until I finished my high school and I realized I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And when I didn't know what to do with my life, I joined the military. I joined the Air National Guard as a system administrator, where I earned my first certification in IT, which was CompTIA Security Plus. After finishing basic training, tech school, and my on-job training days, I came home and luckily enough got a position as a help desk technician at a local managed service provider, where I got to learn a lot through the fire. And that's kind of where it all started. And from then on, I started looking into cybersecurity. It was an interest that came up while I was in tech school. And from there, I started, just looking into anything online that was available for training. I grew up in a low income family, so I never had the chance for college at the time. So just going through all that online training, I just kept working and working, trying to get into this field, and kind of led me to this program where I learned that this field isn't just an overarching cyber thing. It's a lot. And so yeah, here we are.
So when we previously talked, you mentioned that you were going to take a role and apply for some threat hunter positions. Tell us a little bit about that tech school.
Yeah, most of it was, getting familiar with Linux, getting familiar with programming, a lot of just fundamentals, honestly. But because there were so many different categories of that, it was a big learning experience that I wish I had a chance to prepare for a little bit, knowing kind of what goes into all the different things that make up, just even threat hunting alone is a wide category of different topics that you have to learn about. So yeah.
So you mentioned that, obviously there's a lot that goes into it, and you wish you had something, we'll call it a primer. Had you have done the whole cyber pipeline before going to that, do you think it would have armed you better?
I really do. Before I went off to the tech school, I had talked to some people that had gone previously who had failed out. One of the biggest things was learning that a lot of these people are going into it with, this is kind of a normal thing with the military is, you get sent to go do a task, and if you don't do it, that kind of sucks. You have to try again. With that mindset, though, there wasn't a lot of preparation, and so I think having a pipeline like this would have definitely helped me a lot. Honestly, just in cementing fundamentals and prepping for diving deeper into it.
Okay. So we just talked previously before, I did an open challenge on our Discord, right? Saying, the first three to complete will get something, right? And let's talk about the choice that you made.
Yeah.
You had the option of some whole cyber swag. You had some chances at some coffee, and then a Haiku Pro voucher, and Dr. Gerald Auger's GRC Masterclass. How did you filter out what you wanted out of that?
Yeah. So with Dr. Auger's his morning cyber news bulletin that he goes over, I actually got lucky enough, I think it was a month or two back, actually won one of his vouchers for his GRC Masterclass. So that one was off the table already. I was ready for that. Coffee was a big one. I really enjoy my coffee. I've got some more here, even though it's getting a little late. But it was really a tie between the swag, because that hoodie looks pretty sweet along with the logo on it, looks good, and the World of Haiku Pro. And I think I kind of mentioned this before, but the main reason I chose World of Haiku Pro was especially because it's kind of like a membership plan kind of a thing. I'm just really looking forward to what else comes with as they keep progressing with that game and the kind of learning platform that it is. Plus, I can always pick up some swag when I'm back home, so didn't want to have to deal with trying to ship that all around.
Yeah, huge shout out to Eric Basu. For those that don't know him, he's a prior military operator, Navy, to be more specific. And he's got a lot of plans for Haiku. And one of the things that we're looking at helping him with is obviously expanding the brand to try to get in front of these high schoolers, hell, even middle schoolers, right? Because you yourself, you grew up playing computer games. How much troubleshooting did you have to do? Crap, I need to go get some more memory, or I need a stronger computer because the processor don't work. You technically did some troubleshooting. Or, oh man, this install is not working, or I can't find the directory it's saved in. Stuff like that. But I'm going to pass that word to Eric for sure. He actually just messaged me on LinkedIn. So circling back to the whole cyber and the part one, explain we do soul searching as a part of part one for those that don't know. And as Forrest mentioned, cyber is more than just cyber. The System-Nice framework alone lists over 52 roles and 33 subspecialties. What were the 3 to 5 or 6 that spoke to you as a human being?
Yeah, you mentioned 6. It was really tough for me to narrow it down to 3 to 5. So after I was going through those, learning about kind of the tasks and techniques and everything that goes into each of those roles, I narrowed it down to cyber investigation, cyber operations, digital forensics, incident response, and vulnerability assessment and management. I couldn't quite get it down to less than that, but at least not until I went through some more of the pipeline, and then I got a better feel for what I think I would enjoy most.
So another part of that was that cybernights.us. When you sat down and you took the assessment portion, right? That's I treat it like a college, entry assessment, right? Let's rate your arithmetic or word reasoning and stuff like that. So you did very, very well, which is a lot of intermediate and a lot of advanced. But then there's the top 5 personalities. So, you obviously are more extroverted. You definitely thrive off the energy of others. So, when you look at your progression, are you looking for remote roles where you're going to be solo lone wolf, or are you going to be actually looking for those on-site roles where you can actually energize and help get re-energized by team sitting right next to you?
Sure. So a little bit of more background. So I'm married. We have a couple of cats, and most of our family all lives very nearby. All of our friends and everything, we're all pretty tightly packed into where we are. So as of right now, we have no plans of wanting to move or relocate for a position that would come up. So right now, I think I would definitely be looking for remote. That to be said, I wouldn't mind working along people. as much as introverted as I am, it is nice being able to, talk to people every so often outside of just, a digital message sent to them. But when it comes to, doing work, I think the remote work is great, and you can still work with a team being remote, obviously, but it's definitely not the same. But I do think that is something I would thrive in.
So let's pick on that piece.
Yeah.
So I run an MSSP and I hire Forrest knowing that it's going to be remote. I know that I have a bunch of introverts and extroverts working together. I know my introverts are going to thrive better because they like being a lone wolf and they only ask for questions when they have questions. I know my extroverts are going to be more active. They're going to want to work side by side with each other. You obviously you're introverted yourself, right? Based off your personality traits, but obviously the military has taught you to work through extroversion.
Yep.
Using those skills, I bring you on my Slack channel or my Teams channel. What's your goal to energize that team?
I think, well, first off, how do you mean energize them?
So we know, I mean, look at our Discord, for example, right? We have 80 active candidates right now. And just like in the Discord, only maybe 10 people are actually chatting with each other, helping each other out, while the other ones are doing it their own and they're actually making progress on their own. But cyber is a team sport.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it going to be Forrest saying, hey, have y'all checked this free training now or something like that? Or, hey, anybody looking to possibly work on a lab to go over what we just got sent to us?
Sure.
Because essentially everybody can be a leader in cyber. It really doesn't matter what your fluencies are because, like you said, it is a very, very diverse and open industry.
Mm-hmm.
What is your goal, right? You join a team. How are you going to energize them to keep them on the up and up with the latest threats, the latest technology,
Sure.
and then being frugal, like obviously me with, how can I get education for this team?
Mm-hmm. So when it comes to the work aspect of it, I'm being introverted. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy, getting to see people's faces. I like to do meetings with webcam on, when you can. It's nice to see people live and breathing. But when it comes to just like keeping them updated with new things that are coming out, free training, resources that if they want to, they can peruse. I'm pretty big on personal development. There's a few discords that I'm in that I have a bot, for example, written to update with 3 books that come out each day. It's I just like to share the knowledge and wealth that comes with developing yourself to be better.
So there it is. That's exactly what I was looking for. Energizing the team by being a community leader, right? Because again, it goes back to it. You look at Cybersecurity Central. Kim has never once said that she was a cybersecurity professional, but she's technically a leader because she's providing all this content to the community. Now let's get into the part 2.
Sure.
So part 2 is broken down into multiple different online academies using free resources. You'd already mentioned 2 that really stood out to you that you like a lot. Care to give them some homage?
Yeah. So first off, I would definitely mention immersive labs. I'm very much of a hands-on learner. Just reading words off the screen or a page is not the easiest for me to remember. They had a lot of great labs for walking through doing things, and that did include having that knowledge that you read about or watch a video on, whatever it is. But having the chance to actually play with some of the tools, having a sandbox to throw some malware in just to see what happens. I think that was definitely probably one of my favorite parts of part 2, to be honest, was those labs. The next one was actually attack IQ. Theirs was more towards the knowledge, but there was a cyber range, which was really fun to get to play with. Learning about the importance of purple teaming and not just the usual blue team or red team. Getting to learn about, what that even means was really cool too. There was a lot of information there that I hadn't thought of or just never, even thought was a thing.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's a good perspective to put it into as well. So obviously that lab you're talking about is the breach and attack simulation.
Yep.
And you got to get a VM out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, now you can really just play around with it as much as you want. You can spin up a Docker instance and have a bunch of headless nodes to do breach and attack simulation on. For headless nodes, that is a VM that has no screen. That is literally just command prompt. So it's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
So what's next for Forrest, right? So you went through the pipeline. You already mentioned that you kind of took software off the table. What did you narrow the remaining 5 roles down to?
Yeah. So like you mentioned, I did end up taking software development off there, kind of going through, I actually had gone back to that whole page and looking at the roles some more as I was going through this part 2, taking a look at some of those labs and everything. Getting to get some of those hands-on made me realize that just because I enjoy programming doesn't necessarily mean it would be software development is one of the roles that I want to get into. Going through those labs, I learned, you can use programming languages like Python and C to do some of the jobs that, isn't necessarily just developing software. So I had actually narrowed it down to cyber operations, digital forensics, and incident response.
All right. And we mentioned on the back channel, incident response and digital forensics, right? Not really a lot of entry-level positions in those. So those are more what your 2-year, 5-year goal or your 7-year goal?
I would think hopefully 2-year to 5-year. With there not being very many entry-level positions for that kind of field, it's definitely something I want to dive into, trying to get hands-on practicing just on my own, unless I can find platforms or more training for getting hands-on with that kind of, role. But yeah, for the meantime, I think just getting some experience in information security, whatever entry-level position right now that I can look for would be the best start for me. And
Let's
then
talk
trying
about
to
that.
transition to that.
All right. So we often hear the plague tell that everybody goes entry level as a career shifter or a veteran shifting over from military service. Obviously, because in TGPS, TAPS, or transition classes, we get told we have to start over from scratch.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in IT now?
So in IT, it's been 7 years now. Yeah, I think 4 or so working as more of a system administrator position, but a lot of just basic IT working through that.
So let's talk about that then. So you have 7 years IT experience. That means you've had to troubleshoot. That means you have customer service skills. You went through a threat analyst course, which was what? It was 35, 40 days long.
No, that one, it was actually is from, let's say, March till June. So,
Oh,
a few
wow.
months.
So
Yeah,
you might,
it was a long.
I would think you're shooting too low then, right? Because a lot of these roles, you're coming in with leadership experience, right? Because right now you're leading your team, with your National Guard unit.
Mhm.
And the premise of the whole cyber is it's gauged for entry level, it's gauged for mid to junior, and it's gauged for senior, right? Because I'm looking at a senior role. Do I need to be 100% hands-on, or do I need to just understand and know, have a little bit of hands-on with it, not necessarily more like that 80-20, right? The 80% of understanding the business and clients, and the 20% of being technical, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to be able to present to the C-suite. So you chose operator, which, for those that don't know, the systemized framework is broken down into DoD FedRAMP. Obviously, you were able to dissect it a little bit more easily, unlike our civilian counterparts. When they look at it and they're like glass-eyed, like, oh my God, what is this role? What is all source intelligence analyst? Stuff like that. The computer operator. So, that's, well, cyber operator.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that really is an encompassing role, right? When you think about it, you're a cyber analyst, you're a security analyst, you're doing a vulnerability assessment, and then maybe some white box pen testing. So would you say, you're, as far as the operator side, are you looking at more red team, more purple team, more blue team? Because it is kind of like the baker's choice, right? What's that 13th donut that's going in the baker's dozen?
Yeah. I think when it comes to the cyber operations aspect, I think it would be purple team is what I'd be looking for, honestly. Red team, that's the one that, you see in movies. They look cool. Everybody wants to be them, kind of a thing. You're almost like a secret agent, but blue team can be just as fun. You get to experience. I mean, you need to know so much for blue team. It blows my mind, some of the minds that go into building a blue team, and it's crazy. But honestly, I'm asking for the best of both worlds with the purple team. You get to do a lot of both sides, really. You really get to learn the ins and outs of whatever it is you're working on, and learning how to defend that too is just it takes a lot. And I want to be that guy who knows the things, the kind of person you can go to, because they'll know what to do.
Yeah, when we're defining those roles, they're more of your threat intel, your threat hunter, your malware engineers, your malware reverse engineers. And then a lot of people don't know it, but even incident response is borderline purple team in reality, because you have to know how to actor things. You have to know what blue team tools are in place. You have to be able to replicate that attack in your head. And then if it's something new, like, a new ransomware comes out, you're taking it back to home base, and now you're blowing it up in in simulated environments to get to understand how that attack works. I am going to say that the person that I want you to reach out to is going to be Megan Jaco. She's one of our new advisory board members, and she is a CTI. And she will probably task you with some decent homework. And between Alex and I, for the incident response and digital forensics, we're part of the candidate completion as an individual development plan. So we're going to line up some more stuff for you that you can do on your own. But looking at, you mentioned it, right? There's so much to learn. When you looked at the incident response and you looked at the digital forensics, I'm sure you got excited when you seen that there was some malware hands-on labs and some ransomware hands-on labs.
Yeah, it was really fun to get to watch what happens when, because you're always told, don't click the thing, don't run the executable, whatever. And sometimes you have that thought, like, what if I do? So you get
service member red button. They said don't touch.
Yeah. But you get to see what happens, and I just think that's so fascinating, getting to break it down. I mean, not even just running it and getting to see what the malware is going to do, but breaking that malware down to see what it's going to do on the technical side too is really just it's exciting, honestly.
So now that you have the pipe, so let's talk about the pipeline too, right? So you've technically only been with Whole Cyber for right about a month.
Yep.
So going into it, right, we talk about cyber and attention to detail and how they coincide with each other. You obviously read the website very well, where it said, make sure this is the only thing that you're going to be focused on.
Yeah.
And this is a testament to how quick you can get it done if it's the sole focus and not going after the Twitter, the LinkedIn, the Facebook flavors of the week. Do
Mhm.
you think, if you were one of those types that were enrolling into XYZ as they just get plastered all over LinkedIn, that you would have been successful completing as soon as you did?
No. So I'm kind of like that person. I do enroll in a lot of those things, but I'm, probably because of that military background, I've learned to, set them in their own boxes. So like I'm not trying to do all the things at once, you know.
You heard that, everybody? That's called project management. Point that out.
But yeah, no, I don't think it definitely wouldn't have been done as fast as it was. There's so much information to read about, and even having some of the background information with all that, it still took me as long as it did. If I had other things that were taking my my focus off of the whole cyber program, it definitely would have taken much longer if I ever did finish it.
So I know you probably had your head scratch going when you seen the CISA courses. Why
Yep.
am I learning ICS? Why am I learning OT? Um, what was your experience with those?
Yeah. First off, actually, I've participated in a couple of Department of Energy Cyberforce competitions, which are primarily, learning about defending both ICS and IT, because going through these courses, you learn how much they they intermingle now. And it's I knew that it was important, but I really never knew how important it was. It was great going through the courses because it gives you a better idea of why, other than just it's providing X resource to these people, but understanding how many vulnerabilities there are that come with these systems that affect so many people. It's terrifying thinking about those things being maliciously messed with in a way that could cause harm to people. And it's just, I mean, for me at least, it was never something that I thought in the back of my head, like, oh, another cyber attack, whatever's in the news. You don't think about how this could affect huge groups of people just by attacking a single kind of system. So I think it was really eye-opening, and it's definitely something important to learn about for sure.
So one of the things that you probably learned when you got into the 106 course is that you have to be passive, both defending and attacking OT networks. So, you kind of mentioned you wouldn't mind a SOC environment working in a threat capacity or any purple team capacity at that. So when we talk about some of these MSSPs that are hiring, do you think, because you netted 11 Department of Homeland Security micro certifications for completing that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, something like that.
So you have DHS level training on how to conduct IT security operations on critical infrastructure. How would you represent that if you were to interview with a SOC today? Right? How would you drive that conversation? Would it be something like, have you ever, when that interviewer asks, you got any questions? Would one of them be, have you ever thought about doing managed security for local municipal? How would you attack that? Because it's going to be one of those things they talk about when you talk about, your knowledge and education. Oh man, ICS, some SCADA, some OT.
I'm sorry, you were cutting out really. I think my hotel Wi-Fi is kicking me off in
No, you're
a
okay.
little bit.
So it's more of, because you have the ICS and the CISA training with Department of Homeland Security training knocked out, you know, when you apply and you're doing that interview and that interviewer for that SOC or MSSP asks you that question, do you have any questions for us? With that ICS and OT cyber that you learned, what would be some of the questions you ask, that SOC? Yep, you're frozen. Technical difficulty. We're going to pause it and we're going to resume. All right, we're back, everybody. There was a little bit of technical difficulty with some hotel room, but we are back. So we're going back to the question. We talked about you went through, you got these 11 Department of Homeland Security CISA trainings knocked out about ICS, OT, cyber. So now, it's going to be a topic that people come up that are going to bring up in interviews or in passing, right? Because you're going to have this on your resume now that you have this knowledge. What kind of question would you ask that manager or that hiring manager when they ask you that? Do you have any questions for us?
Mm-hmm. I mean, from my experience with MSPs, it's just kind of been any company that would hire them or partner with them, contract, whatever. I do think it would be important to ask if, ICS or OT technology is something that they would consider working on or supporting. The biggest thing there is, they're gonna need technicians and stuff that are competent, not necessarily just competent, but capable of working with that technology. With how important it is, there's obviously going to be a lot of concern on availability, and you don't want just throwing anybody at whatever it is. So you're gonna need people who are trained in that kind of stuff, dealing with not only just the technology but the protocols and not ports, but the protocols that they work with. So it would be a good question to ask them if that's something they plan on working on in the future. Especially because there's a growing amount of threats towards that technology. So it's definitely something to think about.
It's very well spoken. That same tactic, the reason why I guided that type of question was because Frank Palmasino also used that question during one of his interviews. And surprisingly, you nailed it, right? A lot of these MSPs, MSSPs, they want to do it, but they don't understand the architecture or the infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
With the courses that you did, do you think that, if you were to join a SOC, we'll call it that you join a SOC as an entry level or junior level threat intel or threat hunter or a purple teamer. Do you think that it would be something that now that you have some purview on, you can help guide them in that direction?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just having the information that was covered in, just the CISA training alone. There was even some manager training listed in there too, which gives you a good overarching view of, thinking big picture for those systems and how they work with everything else and supporting it and protecting it. I do think going through it and having that training would definitely help with guiding it. Personally, I would like, everybody's going to want more preparation. You always want to make sure that you know what you're doing before you go in and touch anything that could cause, possible harm to so many people. So I do think it would definitely give me the opportunity to help guide in that direction. And with that would include working towards training and stuff for, supporting that in a safe way. Yeah.
You hear that, Jen? you have a proud promoter of your CISA courses. That's Jen Easterly, by the way. And then Idaho National Labs for actually putting the training together. I will say that, there's two courses that I would want you to do just because you are curious with the OT stuff. And that's the 201 virtual and the 301 virtual. With those, you're going to get range access to where
Oh,
you're
okay.
actually the tools and the methodologies that you learned, they're all going to culminate to where, you're going to get some video instruction with some quiz checks, and then also have the ability to sign up and register for some online range. Because the 301V, for example, right, when we talk about how passive you have to be with attacking and defending, they're going to teach you a tool that's been out for quite a long time called Grass Marlin. And it's very good at passively sniffing an ICS and SCADA network. I've actually used it on my Yukon. So, I mean, there's multiple applications for it. But definitely knock those out, and give INL and CISA a good write up on those. I know somebody previously, one of our candidates that's over in Egypt works for a power company and went through the CISA courses. And one of his things that he brought up was, hey, some of the content in the 301 was very dry. If we're trying to gain traction to get youth interested in protecting our nation's assets, might need to liven it up. Those types of things, Jen Easterly and Kirsten Todd actually pay attention to.
Yeah.
So this is why I say everybody in cyber is a leader, right? Because you could actually lead an innovative change. That's all really. So going forward, there's a lot of influencers, there's a lot of mentors out there. Who would you like to give shout outs to for helping guide you into this direction?
Yeah, for sure. There's a couple people actually in my life that I know personally who definitely helped get me, one, into having a passion for just learning in general. And then another who helped guide me when it came to just trying to get hands-on training with information security. They had a lot of great resources and some they'd been doing for a while too as they try to transition into this field. First one was Corey McKinley. He actually worked at that same MSP I worked at, and he just an absolute wizard of a person. He just knew everything. You could ask him any question, and I mean, I don't know if he just always knew the answer or if he was very quick in finding the answers, but man, he knew so much. The other person, his name's Branson Bentley. He was actually my supervisor in the Air National Guard when I first joined. He definitely had a very huge role in helping me figure out what I wanted to do. He's actually gotten out though, so he's enjoying life. He's retired life and doing his own thing, but we still keep in contact. Couple other people, Dr. Gerald Auger. He's the one who actually had mentioned this program and what got me started with it. His daily bulletins are great. Another is the cyber mentor, Heath Adams. He's got just great training, similar, idea in life where we need to train people and get them into this because there's not enough people doing it, and we really need it. There was one other person actually in my life. I totally missed them. My bad. Bradley Lewis. He was also one of my supervisors at the time with BJ. He was basically Corey McKinley, but for cybersecurity, and it blew my mind. And he's that secret agent man you see in the movies doing the cool hacker things, and that definitely sparked part of that passion. Was I just thought he was such a cool guy. And then, of course, you, Paul Cummings, and the team with the whole Cyberhuman initiative. It's awesome what you guys are doing and providing for people and trying to get everybody, that training and just education. It's great.
So if there was one piece of advice you can give yourself 7 years ago,
Oh gosh. Okay.
what would it be?
Stop trying to learn all the things. um, that was definitely my biggest thing getting into just IT in general was I wanted to learn all the things because I wanted to be that guy who knew all the answers. And definitely something I've learned, just in my career, even just in IT, you can't know all the things. um, there's just so much to do, and figuring out what exactly what you want to be doing 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever. um, Focusing in on that, and then creating the steps or goals that you need to meet to get there. That's definitely what I would have told myself to do. Figure out what you want to do exactly, and figure out how to get there and break it down.
Very good answer. So you're obviously working sysadmin still. You're doing the stuff with um, the Air National Guard. Is there what's so you're obviously about to go on deployment. So that obviously slows some things down.
Hmm.
Are you going to be looking for employment anytime soon? Like, what does your
Yeah.
timeline look like?
I think what around April timeline next year, 2023, I'll be looking for work, looking for that remote work, trying to get into honestly any of those three roles. They were, yeah, just looking for work as soon as I'm out.
When are you going to start looking?
Honestly, I think take a page from one of my coworkers here. Start looking around probably January, February timeline. Give me some time to, reach out to people. Hopefully, have time for some interviews in that time, and then get a better idea of whether that means that I would have a position available after the deployment, or if I need to keep looking. But yeah, probably early 2023, January, February, March.
So we talk about a lot in Discord how some certifications just aren't band-aids. So the final question is, now that you've really narrowed down the roles and kind of the education path you're seeking, what's that return on investment certification that you're looking for?
Oh, that's a hard one. Um, I think just part of it is because we talked about how that digital forensics, the incident response, and handling, they're harder. They're not necessarily entry level positions. I think what I'm hoping to do while I'm on this deployment, because military funding, is trying to pick up actually the SANS certified incident handler certification. I feel like that'll give me some of the hands-on and practical knowledge for hopefully a bit of forensics in there. There's also, I know there's some other certifications for forensics from SANS specifically, but the incident response as well. I think that's going to be a huge help in me finding that position, whether it is entry level or not. I know you talked about how I'm maybe selling myself a little short. I feel like that might give me a little bit of that confidence boost to apply for that mid position kind of a thing.
All right. So going into that, I want you to think of this. And this will be our final thoughts before I let you lead us out. SANS, you mentioned them. Did you know about their vet success program?
I have heard of it, but I've been told, I haven't seen anything in writing yet, but I've been told if you have any of their certifications that you're not eligible. And I was lucky enough to win a scholarship from Cyber Fast Track last year for the GFACT exam, and I just picked that up at the beginning of this year. So if that's true that you can't have any of their certifications, then unfortunately I can't apply for that program. But yes, I have heard of it.
You hear that, Sonny? Sonny is he's one of the program leads for that success program and all their scholarships. And I'll
Oh,
reach out to him on that.
yeah, that would be
I'll be
awesome.
sure to tag him because you look at the requirements for it and it says you can't be in cyber already, which you're not, right? At least not on the civilian side, right? So you may do
Mhm.
some threat for International Guard and stuff, but you're really not in that capacity. So
Right.
don't discredit it. And then also, um, we didn't even ask. Do you have a degree?
I don't. I'm working on one, but I talked about the low income family. So uh, with the Montana Guard and then the Washington Guard, they just recently got tuition assistance. So I'm doing very part time school to try to work towards a bachelor's in cyber operations, actually. But I'm a few
Well,
years out.
somebody else from SANS I want to shout out for you is going to be Kim Kafka, and I'm going to put you in contact with her. SANS has an undergraduate certificate program, nets you 5 certifications, 4 being how you already got GFAC, but
Right.
it's it'll be a fun discussion with you and her,
Yeah.
as well as converting what you've already done over to their bachelor program.
Hmm.
Uh, and really maximize the TA, really maximize that GI bill. Um, so lead us out. What were your overall thoughts from start to finish about whole Cyber Human Initiative?
You're putting me on the spot. No. um, Honestly, I thought it was a really great experience. There's so much material, and I know I flew through it. I had some extra time on my hands during this downtime, but um, there's a ton of great knowledge. Lots of courses from people that know so much more than I do, and it just blows my mind how wide and you know I'm only breaching the surface still, and there's just so much more that I'm still learning at the time. Every time I go through another of these courses that were here, um, but it was a great learning experience. I'm super excited for whatever's coming next. Wish the best of luck to everybody else that's participating. I think anybody honestly that joins has got a lot of great stuff to look forward to.
So let's follow up with that. So how much did you spend on whole cyber?
Oh boy, probably 2 weeks at least of maybe
No, I'm
four or
talking about
five hours
money.
a day.
No, I'm
Huh?
talking about money. How much money did you spend on
Oh,
whole cyber?
oh, no, nothing. Didn't spend a single cent. It was fantastic.
Not a single cent. And all this training that's provided was open source and freely available by industry practitioners.
Yeah.
Now, I told you this was going to be the hard question. Um, and I only just remembered it because I wasn't going to let you off the hook. With whole cyber, obviously, we're trying to be paradigm, you know, shifters and career changers, um, and really rattle the cages. What would be your thought on whole cyber trade schools?
Um, Honestly, especially, we talked about some of those roles, not necessarily being entry level. A lot of jobs nowadays require 10 years of experience and, all these things. Honestly, I think it'd be a lot of work, but it could definitely pay off dividends at the end, in the future, building a working force to go out into the world and work in these fields. Um, right now, the only options really are like certifications or college, and both are expensive. Um, I mean, if you can get lucky and get a job already out of the get go, that's great, but that's not how it works for so many people. And so, having a trade school or something like that would just be a huge benefit. Um, that coupled with the mass amount of people that are applying for entry level jobs and just the supply of them not being there, um, having a trade school for whether it's for specific roles or for overarching roles that help might even have paths into those different roles. I think that could definitely, it could solve a huge part of this lack of employment for all these people looking to get into it that we need, that just don't have the positions to fill.
All right, so take us out now. So we talked about a lot. We talked about you. We talked about some of the things that you're going to be doing. Take us out with your next 2 months planning.
Well, unfortunately, with the deployment, it's kind of hard. I'm gonna have a lot less time here pretty soon, but I'm definitely gonna be taking a look at those 2 courses you had mentioned from the CISA as well. But really, I think it's unfortunately not going to be in the next couple of months, but after this deployment finishes up, obviously looking for a job, but you know, pursuing more of what will help me, like I mentioned with the 7 years ago recommendation, but helping figure out what those tasks are that I need to accomplish to get into those roles that I had selected. Figuring out how to break that down and start moving in that direction for sure.
And what 2 dream companies do you want to work for?
Oh no, I honestly I don't have a dream company really. I want, I mean, you give me a wish list and it's gonna be a company that supports its employees, takes care of them. Right now it would be working remote from home, having a great team to work with. There's always gonna be that wish list, but yeah, I don't have a specific company in mind. Sorry.
So you said culture, taking care of people. I can think of Guide Point. Patrick
Yeah.
Gillespie, one of our advisory board members, works there. Royal Caribbean Group, who has an awesome skill bridge program that I know the CISO of, or
Oh.
CIO of. And one of our Discord members actually started a skill bridge and landed a job with them. Capital One has a really good environment. Chris Fullon works for them. We have Ontic or Optiv, Optiv, Heather Case Hall works for them. They have a very, very nice organization and take care of the people. So what I'm pointing at is definitely connect with the advisory board members as much as you connected with the directors.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens with that.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you for your time and thank you for really, really stirring up the Discord. You got in there and you came in, Miley Cyrus wrecking ball style. And you really showed that, competing with each other was kind of fun.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Thank you again for a lot of the process improvement ideas that you talked to us about. Hopefully you've seen some of them that we've made changes for already.
Yeah.
Obviously, again, going back to you wish we had our own website for the training. Can't really do that because then I wouldn't be able to do this for free.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, we're excited, right? Because you're coming into this window where you're going to be separating from from military deployment. You're still going to be an active guard. A lot of companies have that, soldier relief act where you can still get a job and you get deployed, they hold your job.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the last things I would say is look at DoD Skill Bridge now. Again, I'll connect you with Steve Mills over at Royal Caribbean Group. I'm pretty sure he would like to have you on because Royal Caribbean Group uses ICS and SCADA.
Yeah.
So it's I can't wait for, more stuff that you put in our Discord because You know, a lot of the bots that you've written already are pretty decent. And we're actually going to be giving you the whole cyber moderator or motivator group role now. So now you'll be able to actually motivate some more people. And I look forward to seeing what you do with this. What's your final words for those that are behind you seeking, whether it's IT, InfoSec, or cyber?
Yeah, I mean, I'd just honestly say keep at it. Especially if you're not in the program already, join. There's a lot of great stuff here. And if you are, if you're signing up for all those things on the side, set them aside. This is definitely worth going through, focusing on, and not necessarily knocking it out, but kind of knocking it out. You want this information, and it's definitely gonna pay out dividends in the end on how it affects your career and your life. So.
All right. Again, thank you for joining me for this. I know it was a little bit longer than we expected, and I know I said, hey, I'm going to let you lead it out, but obviously I just kept coming up with more questions. Now my brain works. You see me
It's
in
all
this.
good. No worries at all. Thanks for having me.